Imagine waking up one morning and discovering your country no longer exists. No warning, no rescue, no help coming. Only smoke in the streets,
Whispers in the dark, and the terrifying feeling that the world has forgotten you.
For decades, a tiny island nation near Australia lived through invasion, disappearances, betrayal, and war.
And yet somehow, it survived. This is not fiction.
This is the story of Timor-Leste, the country that refused to disappear. Far from the attention of the world, hidden between Indonesia and Australia,
lies one of Asia's youngest nations. Today it is called Timor-Leste.
A peaceful land of mountains, fishing villages, churches, coffee farms, and quiet coastlines.
But beneath this calm surface is a history filled with fear. Because for centuries,
Powerful nations looked at this island not as a home for people, but as territory. In the 1500s, Portuguese traders arrived searching for sandalwood and profit. Soon the island became part of the Portuguese Empire.
for generations, local communities lived under colonial rule, while the outside world barely noticed them.
Then came World War II. Japanese forces invaded the island. Thousands of civilians died from hunger, violence, and disease. Entire villages disappeared. But the darkest chapter had not even begun.
In 1974, Portugal suddenly collapsed into political chaos.
Its colonies across the world began preparing for independence.
And for the people of East Timor, freedom finally seemed possible.
A revolutionary movement known as Fretilin rose quickly.
Young leaders spoke about democracy, independence, and building a new future.
For a brief moment, hope spread across the island. But nearby governments were watching carefully.
Indonesia feared that an independent East Timor could become unstable during the Cold War.
Tensions grew rapidly behind closed doors. Then, on December 7th, 1975, everything changed.
Indonesian forces invaded East Timor. Paratroopers filled the skies above the capital city.
Gunfire echoed through Dili. Families ran into churches, searching for safety.
Children vanished in the chaos.
And the world?
Mostly stayed silent.
The capital city of Dili transformed overnight. People whispered instead of speaking openly.
Neighbors stopped trusting neighbors. Some civilians escaped into the mountains to join resistance groups.
Others simply tried to survive another day. Entire communities were relocated.
Food shortages spread across villages. Families lived in constant fear of military operations.
No place felt truly safe. And yet, the resistance refused to disappear.
Hidden deep inside forests and caves, resistance fighters continued communicating through secret routes.
Messages were carried by hand.
Radio broadcasts were whispered late at night.
Among the resistance leaders, one name became legendary.
To supporters, he became a symbol of survival. To enemies, he became one of the most wanted men on the island.
For years, he moved through mountains and jungle hideouts, waiting capture. Resistance fighters survived on almost nothing: rainwater, rice, silence. But despite isolation, their movement continued growing stronger.
Because every military operation created more anger, and every disappearance created more resistance.
Then came the event that changed everything. November 12th, 1991.
A funeral procession moved peacefully through Dili.
Young people carried flags while foreign journalists watched nearby.
For the first time, many believed the world might finally see what was happening inside East Timor.
Then suddenly, gunfire exploded across Santa Cruz Cemetery. Indonesian soldiers opened fire on civilians. People fell everywhere. Some tried climbing walls to escape. Others hid beneath bodies.
Cameras captured the chaos, and those images escaped the island. The massacre shocked international audiences.
For years, East Timor had been nearly invisible.
Now the world was finally paying attention.
But even after global outrage, life inside East Timor remained terrifying. Families feared nighttime knocks on doors. Students were monitored. Journalists disappeared.
Resistance supporters spoke in coded language during ordinary conversations.
Even children learned when to stay silent. Entire generations grew up surrounded by fear.
And yet, strangely, the culture survived. Traditional music survived. Faith survived.
Community survived. Even under occupation, people refused to forget who they were.
Then history shifted once again. In 1998, political change across the region transformed the future of East Timor.
Suddenly, the political system controlling East Timor became unstable. International pressure intensified rapidly.
A referendum was announced. For the first time in decades, the people of East Timor would vote. Independence or autonomy under Indonesia. But fear spread quickly. Armed groups began threatening civilians across the island. Villages burned. Families fled into the mountains once again. Everyone understood something terrifying. Even voting could become deadly. August 30th, 1999.
People lined up quietly outside voting stations before sunrise. Some walked for hours to cast their vote.
Others believed they might never return home alive. Then the results arrived.
Nearly 80% voted for independence.
For one brief moment, joy filled the streets. Then, violence erupted.
Pro-Indonesian militias began destroying entire neighborhoods. Buildings burned across Dili.
Thousands fled for safety. Roads filled with terrified civilians.
The city looked like it was collapsing. This time, the world could no longer ignore East Timor. An international peacekeeping force entered the territory. Foreign troops arrived to restore order.
Slowly, the violence began decreasing. People returned to destroyed homes. Schools had vanished.
Infrastructure was shattered. The country had almost nothing left. But after decades of occupation,
the people finally had something they never truly had before: a future. One of the newest countries on Earth. A nation born from survival.
A country that endured colonization, war, occupation, mass violence,
and still remains standing. Today, Timor-Leste continues rebuilding. Its people still face poverty, unemployment, and political struggles.
But across the mountains and coastlines, life continues.
And perhaps that is the most powerful part of this story. Not the invasion, not the destruction, but the fact that after everything, the people never lost the will to exist. Some countries are built through power, others through wealth. But a few nations are built through survival.
Timor-Leste was never supposed to last. Yet against fear, silence, and impossible odds,
it survived. And maybe the most terrifying thing about history is how close the world came to never hearing this story at all.